The whole point of this is to take Rasial down. And we learn through this that his goal throughout this entire thing was us as apprentice, for us to power ourselves up, and he would do what he did with his previous apprentices. Kill them and take the souls for himself.
Well, I think
30,000 souls.
Yeah, 30,000. I think there's an asterisk to that, because it seems like Rasial actually doesn't really care what happened. I think another way of framing his goal is that he is preparing for something else. And his perspective is either he's going to protect the world from something else, from that something else, or we're going to protect the world from that something else. And he doesn't care who that is, as long as someone does it.
Right, and that's the big problem with this quest, and maybe it's not a problem because it was just putting it out there and it's gone now. But we were told world-ending problems were done.
Well, I think that's a more fundamental problem to the storyline as a whole, but...
Yeah. And, I mean, it's like, okay, if we're going this way, fine.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, it felt simpler than it turned out to be, I'll say. Like, I'll say that. And, maybe that's okay for this quest line, that's what it turned out to be, and that there might be something on the way that we're not aware of yet, and it might fit into what we've been told is the goal for storylines going forward, to kind of have them be self-contained and not world-ending. But I also go back to that last live stream we had just before Necromancy launched, where Mod Jack went over season versus storyline, and part of me is thinking maybe what we're having in this entire quest line from Necromancy all the way through Alpha versus Omega, is in effect that mid-season break that he was talking about, where there can be a different little storyline that's working on one thing, and then we're going to pick up with the fort right after this. Maybe that's what's going on.
Yeah. I think this is a back pocket. Like, they had to do something with Necromancy because they were already making the skill, right? And then they decided to pivot to the fort and all that. So, like, I'm no doubt doing Erebus in 5 to 10 years. And at that point, they have
because
this,
that's what this is pointing to. It's mentioning Zautak, and it also mentions Voss very briefly in one chat line.
Well, and Rasial specifically calls out the Shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's be real. What else does that deal with, right? So
exactly.
Right. I think the unfortunate consequence of this is that there's probably a segment of player base that is expecting that is immediate.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't think that's the case based on what we've been told out of game.
Right, because I remember in the lead up to Elder God Wars, how excited people were that we were going to, in effect be, looking at the Elder God storyline and seeing more of the Zarosian stuff. And we know what happened to Zaros there is that he kind of just got yeeted away quickly at the very beginning of it with Battle of the Monolith, right? So... And then now we're seeing that Rasial was getting ready for something else at the end, and well, we're not going to actually look at that for quite some time now. So I can see
teaser for later.
Like, I can see some people being mad about that, like you said there, Avernick. But at the same time, I think it's very clear that we go back to whatever comes after the fort. After this, and we just accept this as kind of like a shorter story arc.
Wouldn't put it past CM like covering their butts when they put out that roadmap. It's like, nope, we're doing Zemregal and Vorkak, and that's what we're doing after Necromancy. We're not doing Erebus. And that was the point of that roadmap a couple of days before Necromancy came out. Was
right. Good point on that. I never connected that to the story. I never connected that to the story.
Yeah, I think they're maybe trying to manage expectations at that point as to what was the post Necromancy season, which was really just on Gale and Vorkath and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, back to the fort.
Yeah.
And it, I feel like the simplest explanation is probably the best on that, rather than trying to read too much into this. So